Chase Swinburne, Conservative MEP for Wales. What was your experience on the doorstep going into these elections? You've now been re-elected here to the Parliament.
We had a very difficult time on the doorsteps, and I think that was across all political parties in Wales. I think people are very disenfranchised with politics generally, but certainly with the European Parliament, they don't understand what it is we do, and getting that message across within a short campaign was actually incredibly difficult. So I think going forwards, we've got a lot of work as European parliamentarians to convince the people of Wales that we actually do add value here and that our hard work does make a difference to their daily lives.
I mean, wasn't this a bit of an indictment on the Westminster government, on David Cameron, that it was such a struggle for the Conservatives in places like Wales this time round?
Well, we only actually lost 2 to 3% of our vote in Wales from a historic high in 2009. I think the surge in the repopularity of Labour was important in Wales, and obviously UKIP was a big factor within our constituencies. By local authority, UKIP won first or second in every local authority. That is a massive message, but unfortunately for us here in the European Parliament, we have to piece by piece reform and renegotiate on every piece of legislation, and so we need people who come here to work. Unfortunately, my colleagues from UKIP have claimed they're already not going to do any of that work, so I do hope that the voice of Wales isn't too weakened by having a member who's not going to do any work at all.
I mean, UKIP say they will turn up. Nathan Gill says he will come here and take an active role on behalf of Wales. How are you going to counter UKIP, though? You say there's an important message to read into these elections from the UKIP vote.
I think for us it's just really important now to actually get our heads down and get on with the work here. The work is not the politics in the plenary chamber. The work is piece by piece on every individual piece of legislation. And last time round I certainly worked on over 50 pieces of legislation. It's really important that we have people engaged in this process, making sure that every piece works for the UK, works for Wales, and we make sure that we communicate that back home. And it's all well and good Nathan saying he's turning up here. He needs to turn up to do the committee work, which ultimately is where that legislation is done and how we protect the interests of Wales going forwards.
So going forward, looking to the next 5 years, the priorities for Wales that you're going to be taking up here in the European Parliament?
Well, for me, it's a continuation of my message during the election. It's reform and renegotiation. We do need to reform the institutions, we need to reform the way we do things here in the Parliament, and we need to renegotiate our position within Europe to make sure that we have a better, more balanced view of how we go forwards. And certainly for me, that is a clear message, one I can deliver, I hope, on, and one that we continue to work with our member state governments in particular, to make sure that they play a bigger role going forwards in decisions made here in Brussels and Strasbourg.
You say that's your aim. How do we measure your success or failure on that basis?
Well, I hope every piece of legislation you'll be able to see the influence that I've had on behalf of my constituents. That for me ultimately is the real test. But of course the bigger test is that of my Prime Minister and what he manages to renegotiate on the bigger scale of things when it comes to each and every member state needing to agree to reforms of the EU institutions. I'll do my very small part to help him here, but of course what he delivers on that bigger stage is going to be critically important.